This video was made possible by CuriosityStream. Get access to my streaming service Nebula when you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description. On August 21st, 2020, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan addressed the nation with a live broadcast. He announced the largest natural gas field discovery in the country's history. The announcement gave off the impression that this could mean Turkey, which currently is dependent on gas imports, could now become a key energy player itself. But the question remains how much of this has been exaggerated and to what extent this discovery really is a game changer. Let's first look at the current energy situation in the country. Turkey is in a close proximity to countries for which the export of energy sources is of enormous importance. Russia, which has a coast on the Black Sea, has the largest amounts of natural gas reserves in the world. And Iran, which borders Turkey in the east, holds the second largest natural gas reserves. Iraq is hugely economically dependent on the energy industry as almost all of the country's exports are crude oil. And in Azerbaijan, 91% of all exports are mineral products. In contrast, the Turkish economy is much more diverse, but the country is dependent on imports for its energy supply. 30% of the country's electricity is obtained from natural gas, which will be the focus in this video. A small part of this gas is imported from Algeria, Nigeria, and Qatar by ship. For this purpose, the gas is cooled to a liquid state at which the volume is significantly smaller. In addition to these liquid gas imports, a number of pipeline projects play a crucial role in the region. Since 2006, natural gas has been pumped from Azerbaijan to Turkey via Georgia using the South Caucasus pipeline. From the Turkish city of Erzurum onwards, this pipeline joins the Tabriz-Ankara pipeline, which transports natural gas from Iran into the country. However, the largest trading partner for gas is Russia. For over 30 years, gas has been transported overland to Turkey using the Trans-Balkan pipeline. Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, and Bulgaria are involved as transit countries in this project. But this overland route also requires these nations to be involved in the gas supply, which is regulated by transit agreements in which these countries hold a good negotiating position. And oftentimes, these contracts include transit fees. In order to avoid this situation, two further pipeline projects were created in the Black Sea. Blue Stream, which was inaugurated in 2005 and reaches the mainland at the Turkish city of Samsun, and Turkstream, which reaches the mainland in the northwest of the country, not far from Istanbul. This pipeline was inaugurated in January of this year by the presidents of the two countries, Putin and Erdogan. The project offers strategic advantages for both nations. Thanks to these pipelines, Russia is Turkey's most important gas supplier. Around half of Turkish gas imports currently come from Russia, and the Turkstream pipeline provides further capacities. In addition, the balance of power is changing along the Trans-Balkan pipeline. Ukraine's negotiating position on further transit agreements with Russia has been weakened. That's because Turkey can be supplied directly, and the Trans-Balkan pipeline has been upgraded so that gas can also flow in reverse. So it would be possible to pump gas from the Turkstream pipeline via Turkey to Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine, which in turn puts Turkey in a position where it might be able to re-export gas and become a transit country itself. The project fits in with Russia's large strategy to avoid Ukraine as a transit country. Both nations are facing off in a dispute over the status of the Crimean Peninsula and the Donbass region. And since many years, both countries are in a conflict over the gas transport. In the past, Ukraine received $3 billion annually in transit fees, which have repeatedly triggered disputes, with Russia at times shutting off the gas supply as a means of pressure. Ukraine is not only an important intermediate country for Russian gas exports to Turkey, but also for gas exports to Western Europe, which Russia is working towards avoiding with the newer Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines. And the loss of this central role in the gas supply in the region is seen as a threat to national security in Ukraine. The many complex political relationships play a decisive role in Turkey's gas supply. Turkey finds itself in a situation in which the country, despite being surrounded by gas exporters, is still struggling not to become too dependent on any individual nation. Because of its political instability, Iraq does not yet play a role in the Turkish portfolio. The same goes for Syria in the south. In addition, competing pipeline projects through Syria, for example to transport natural gas from the Arabian Peninsula, can almost certainly be ruled out due to the close ties between the Syrian government and Russia. And the gas imports from Iran are also subject to a certain political uncertainty due to the US sanctions, which aim to dissuade nations from trading with Iran. Even if these sanctions do not currently affect the Turkish-Iranian gas trade, it still creates some political uncertainty. And between Turkey and Russia, there are a number of different positions in international conflicts, such as on the territorial disputes between Armenia and Azerbaijan, on the status of Kosovo, as well as the two countries' different positions amidst the Syrian civil war. Relations between the countries were particularly strained following the shooting down of a Russian military plane by Turkish military near the Turkish-Syrian border in November 2015. In recent years, however, the relationship has largely returned to normal. Nevertheless, Turkey wants to avoid becoming too dependent on Russia. So Turkey is looking for natural gas reserves that are within their own control, specifically in two areas: in the Eastern Mediterranean, which we will go into more detail in a future video, and in the Black Sea, where a major discovery has now been announced. The field is Tuna 1 and is said to have a capacity of 320 billion cubic meters of gas. For comparison, in 2019, Turkey consumed 43 billion cubic meters of gas. So at least in theory, this field could meet the country's gas needs for a solid 7 years. According to President Erdogan, this should mark the beginning of a change towards more independence in the country's energy supply. And production at this gas field is scheduled to start as early as 2023. But there is also a great deal of skepticism surrounding these announcements and whether that timeframe is realistic. So far, it is not known how complex the extraction will be. The development has to be financially viable in order to compete with the price of gas that is currently being imported from Russia. The big announcement may also have something to do with the government trying to send a positive signal in the context of a difficult economic situation. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit the Turkish economy, and the national currency, lira, is at an all-time low compared to the US dollar. On the other hand, this discovery definitely has political implications, because it strengthens Turkey's negotiating position for future talks with its major gas suppliers. If you are a longtime fan of Neo, you know I love making content for YouTube. But for educational creators, there's always a risk of being demonetized or doomed by the algorithm. That's why I teamed up with other amazing creators to make Nebula, a streaming platform by creators where we can experiment without ads and without the fear of the algorithm. On Nebula, you can watch my videos early and without any advertisements or sponsorship segments. And best of all, you get access to great originals by some of the best educationalist creators, such as extended documentaries from Wendover Productions, a whole series on the logistics of D-Day by Real Engineering, or Volksgeist's extremely well-produced original about the history of synthesizers. And because CuriosityStream loves supporting creators, they've teamed up with Nebula. For Neo viewers, if you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link below, you'll get Nebula completely free. So you get early access to our content and exclusive originals, as well as access to some of the best high-quality documentaries around. That Nebula subscription is not a trial. It is free for as long as you're a CuriosityStream member. And currently, we are running a limited time 26% discount, so you can get the bundle for less than $15 a year if you sign up on curiositystream.com/neo. It really does help support me and many other creators.